Good morning, everyone. This is the Sunday Mindset Session. I am Luke Moroney, and I've got with me, like always and every Sunday, Tony Meredith. How are you, Tony?
Look, I'm well. I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you going?
Mate, I'm going super. I'm in Byron Bay, enjoying the lifestyle, enjoying the work that I'm doing, and coming up with new challenges, which is very exciting. You may have known this, and the person who started this idea for me was Greg, who's just come on. So good on you, Greg. Mum's also joined us as well.
Mm,
Tony, I just want to talk briefly about this challenge. It's always
go for
good
it,
to come up with
please.
a challenge to excite the mindset,
Mm, mm.
and get things in practice and in a path for yourself. Christine and Ty have also come on. So good evening, or good morning, I should say, to all
Good
those.
morning.
So on the back of Greg saying he's going to do 30 sit-ups a day for 66 days, going on to your whole thing about habits, creating habits, the average
Yep,
time it takes
yep,
about
yep,
66 days to create a
yep,
habit.
yep.
So I got Greg to up his level from 30 days, 30 sit-ups. I thought 60 at first, of just double it. But
Mm,
then I thought, okay, well, what if we can actually do 66?
I
66 and
love it.
66, it
I love it.
has a good marriage
Yeah,
together.
yeah, I love it.
So we're really excited by that. We've probably got on about 15 people or so that are doing this challenge with us.
Wow.
And there's a guy in the UK that is actually doing his own version, well, doing that starting on Monday. So he's put a post out to his Facebook community. There's probably
Mm,
another 15 or 20 that are doing it over there.
fantastic. Oh, no, that's a terrific initiative. Hey, if I know you guys have started, how long have you been going for?
This is day 4.
Okay, so if someone's tuning in this morning or watching this video a bit later on today, and they go, you know what, I want to be a part of it. What do they got to do?
Just do 66 sit-ups a day. Let me know so I can tag them into the post as a reminder
Fantastic.
each
Yeah,
and every day to
fantastic.
do that. So
Yeah,
that's Christine is in, she says, and she's done her effort of 66 sit-ups today already. Great work. Gabby's also come on. Hayden's also joined. Greg says morning to everyone.
fantastic.
And Ty also morning legends, and many other pleasantries that are coming on this morning.
Hello.
How you doing, Tony? Any challenges in your path, in your way at the moment?
Oh God! Oh, really? How long have we got? Plenty of
Well,
challenges, mate. Plenty of challenges for me. It's I think I shared a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago. That certainly this 6 months has been arguably the most challenging time for me on the personal front. Also on the business front, I've got plenty of challenges with my property. Coaching business is ticking along actually, so that's going well. But certainly getting a bit of a double barrel challenge at the moment. But I say to myself each and every day, what choice do I have? And yes, I have choice, but the alternative is not something that I think about. And so I say, well, what choice do I have? And I have to get up and I have to make this work and I have to grind through it and I have to do what's required to get it done. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that it's easy, but I've got to keep going. And because my goal is far too important to me to let it all go. Hmm.
absolutely. Yeah, we've had Adam also come on, and a lot of hires coming through this morning. Everyone is pumped up on this Sunday. I'm pumped up for Byron Bay. You're obviously pumped up for Brisbane.
Hmm.
And what we really want to talk about today, Tony, is the whole thing about skill and mindset. This
Hmm.
came up on our Sunday mindset session a couple of weeks back, and we thought we'd explore it a little bit more.
Hmm.
So it is
Absolutely.
really interesting to see that whole thought. So, for everyone that is out there, what are you thinking in terms of skills, all your skills, versus what's going on in your mindset? So, as a general overview, Tony, what are your first thoughts when you hear about these terms of skills and mindset?
Yeah, so the question was, what's more important, right? So skills or mindset? And for me, this isn't called the Sunday skill session. It's called the Sunday mindset session. And so for me, my belief, my view is that mindset's more important. I have a success principle, a success formula that I believe it's not backed on my own science. It's backed on experience. It's backed on plenty of research. And I believe that 10% of your success comes from knowledge. That is, you do the research, you Google stuff up, you read books, you watch YouTube clips, etc. 15% of it comes from skills. Now, just because you know something doesn't mean that you're going to be good at it. So you want to refine the skill. So that's 15%, and the remaining 75% comes from between your ears. It comes from your psychology, your mindset, and your attitude. So for me, mindset by far is the largest contributor to your success, without question.
Yeah, and when you think about sporting athletes and other people with that are successful
Mm.
in their chosen profession, then you just think about there is a skill level, level to it, but it's those people that still work hard. Even with Michael Jordan, all the skills that he has and talent that he has.
Yeah,
It's
correct.
still, when you watch that video, his Netflix series, The Last Dance,
Yeah,
all the
100%.
work that he did above any other players. He was shooting a movie in the off season, and then at the same time playing basketball with all the the best players in the league, and probably got very little sleep in between that. So shooting movies all day, and then getting towards playing basketball for another couple of hours in that day.
100%. And he's refining his skills, but it's the mindset to keep doing that. And you could flip that around and say, well, how many, as kids coming through the ranks or as young adults, how many skillful people did we know that were naturally skillful that didn't go on to make it when we thought they would? And you could think about your running and your footy and whatever sports you can think of. I know we're talking about sport, but you could apply that into business as well. How many people have plenty of skills but then don't have the drive, the determination, the commitment, the resilience, all the things linked to mindset, don't have any of those, and hence they aren't successful. And you're right, here is, the greatest basketballer, the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. And he's just practicing and he's practicing and they'll lose a game and he'll be practicing. And whereas that's what sets people apart. I know we're going to touch that a bit later on, but, for me, it's the mindset to keep going because it's not easy. I've got here this morning and said, it's not easy. I've got my own challenges in both personal and also business life. It's not easy. And so it's the ability to keep going. It's the ability to have the drive and the determination to front up each and every day to want to do better today than I did yesterday. And that's mindset. The skill bit, you can refine skills 100%. Skills are important, again, there's plenty of armchair experts, and so you go to sports or you business, like entrepreneurship, right? It's so easy. Sorry, there's a plane going over. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's so easy to get into entrepreneurship nowadays. All you have to do is change your Instagram handle. I mean, you don't need to go and do a Bachelor of Business or a Bachelor of Commerce or whatever it is. That's how you can get into entrepreneurship. But yet what's happening in times like this when it's a little bit tougher is it's weeding out those that are pretenders and those that are real. So just because you know about something, you've gone and done the theory or you've watched YouTube clips, then it doesn't mean that you have the skills to pull it off. You have to be skillful. You have to be skillful at business. But then beyond that, you have to have the ability to keep fronting up each and every day because business, like life, like fitness, is not easy. And you've got to have the persistence and the consistency towards that.
Well, that's what we're all about, training that mindset behind it, Tony, and, coming up with challenges like I have with Greg with the 66 sit-ups per day for 66 days. I got to keep saying that all the time, and it doesn't roll off the tongue for that.
Say it quickly, and then after a few drinks, right? So,
66, 66, 66.
But I think it's terrific. It's great because you've got, and also for you, right? So you've got your own challenge, as in you've run 900 plus days in succession, which is amazing. We talk about it regularly, but then it's also for you about, well, what's the next thing for you? And I know you've got you want to get to 1,000, and that's huge. But then it's also what's the next thing for you? And we all have that same thing. What's the next thing to look forward to? It gives us purpose. It gives us meaning. As opposed to getting up and going, oh, what am I going to do today? I'm getting attacked by birds here. What am I going to do today? Versus it gives us, it's a Dr. Doolittle and me coming out. It gives us meaning, right? It's got purpose, a reason for being the Ikigai. So good on you, mate, for getting involved in it. Good on you for promoting it. I think it's a wonderful initiative.
I always think also about, Tony, having the consistency of doing something is a strong mindset. So just repeating something every day, even though it's, that boring, that mind numbing, but then maybe looking at some of these other things that are kind of fun and exciting as your next challenge or as a subsequent challenge to what you're doing as well. So I think about them in that way.
Absolutely. But the other thing you can do, so if you do have, and let's take your running, for example, I know that you also challenge yourself on your time. I see you post various things, various comments around, hey, I got down to 30 minutes or 31, whatever it is, right? And so I know that you are constantly looking at things. I know a little while ago, you said to me that you changed your technique. You had to because you're having a few injury problems. So again, that's all about, self-improvement, about efficiency, and that's applying to running. And so, it's the same for people who swim. Like, I'm not a swimmer, but I think about the people who swim and staring at that black line, and what is it that keeps them going? And it's about trying to perfect that technique, perfect the stroke, shave some time off, and it applies to, we're talking about sports here, but it also applies to business, it applies to sales, it applies to marketing, so marketing your business, refining that side of things. But it comes down to, I've got an acronym, which is CAPE, CAPE, and it's consistent and persistent effort. And that's what I believe. I believe we need to put in our little capes, our little Superman or Superwoman capes, and have consistent and persistent effort, because that is the difference between the great and the average.
Couple of things. Mick George and Clayton Forno has come on, and Clayton says, "Morning, gentlemen." I don't know if I know Clayton, but
I know Clayton. So Clayton and I went to school together. So played in the cricket team together. So hello, mate. Hope you're doing well.
yes, probably a first time viewer, I think, on the live aspect of it. So a big shout out for Clayton for coming on this morning. A couple of things, Tony. I was just trying to think there and remember what I was about to say. Firstly, the people that fall off the rails is an
Mm,
interesting one as well.
mm, mm,
We were talking about Michael Jordan, but what
mm,
about some of those athletes that have fallen off the rails? A couple of, some of my so the Parramatta Eels rugby league team, who
mm,
I
mm,
support,
mm,
I
mm,
remember, a couple of their star players from the past that have, gone really well one season, and then whether it's money or influence or other things
mm,
that have
mm,
really,
mm,
got into their head, and
mm,
then put them into a perspective of like falling off the rails and
mm,
then not being in favor. They muck around.
mm,
The
mm,
club's out of favor. They move from one club to another club,
mm,
and
mm.
then then lose that whole thing, and really get down on themselves. So the mindset's not working well,
That's
and
it.
then then their whole career is washed away.
Correct. Because they've found things that are more important. So they originally the footy was important, but then they perhaps got a little bit complacent. They got a little bit comfortable. They didn't keep putting in the effort, and that's the difference between the likes of the people you're describing and the best is at the best. And Jordan is the best. Is they keep going, they keep challenging themselves. They've got something in front of them to strive towards. Where if someone gets to a level and is just sort of going through the motions, well, they're not going to improve, and in fact, they'll fall backwards because everyone else is moving in front of them. And that's the challenge. The challenge is to constantly have something in front of you. You see this when I know we're talking a lot about sports, and if your dad's watching, he'd probably be at us saying, "Come on, guys, it's not just a sports show." But sports is a good one that we can all relate to, where you see it with, say, Olympians and people who reach the pinnacle of their sport, and then they fall off after that, right? They stop their sport and then they're just in this void and they've got nothing else to look forward to. And so it's about constantly having something further down the road to look forward to. It gives life purpose. It gives life meaning. It's something that when your feet hit the floor, you've got something to work towards. And that applies to relationships, it applies to business, it applies to health and wellness. It's constantly having that something to move towards, because if you're not looking in a forward direction, you're actually looking in a backward direction and dwelling on things that have gone by.
Hugo and a few others that have joined. Good
Mm,
morning on this Sunday mindset session. We're talking about skills versus mindset and
mm,
what's really important, or what's more important
mm,
actually in that regards. When you talk about the whole thing of acronyms, I think it's become very powerful, and I talk about a few things in terms of all those little nuggets. And I know you got quotes and whatever. So you
mm,
obviously
mm,
said
mm, mm,
CAP, cape, put on your cape.
mm,
And I talk about, the reason why I reflect on this, it's actually helped someone who I interviewed yesterday in
mm, mm,
selling and buying a property for their own home to live in.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I talk a lot about team action patience, turn
Yep,
on
yep.
your tap.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've said it persistently and consistently for a
Yep.
long period of time, he's actually taken that, and he's got that. And I said to him, take that first step, take that first step, go get and check your finance. He took that. And then as soon as that happened, the momentum built up from there. And he
Absolutely.
remembered, take the first step, and he remembered TAP, get your team, take some action, have some patience.
I love it. I love
And
it.
it's exactly what you're talking about, Tony. So I guess the message that I'm getting out there today is reflect on some of these acronyms, because in those struggling times, in those moments when you're procrastinating, in those times that you're not sure about where things are going or your right path, remember some of these acronyms. So we will keep saying them over and over again, because we need to reflect on these things for ourselves.
The other thing I want to say on top of that is that it's about simplifying the message so everyone can understand it, right? So team, action, patience. You can go and read books and watch YouTube clips and do courses and all this sort of stuff. But for your acronym, it boils down to 3 words. And it's like, so you've got a great example where a gentleman that you spoke to has remembered it's only 3 words. It's a turn on the tap, and he's applying that. And the same with these small acronyms. It helps people learn that. So it's about simplifying a message, because personal development or creating wealth through property or business, starting up a business, it can become all too overwhelming and very confusing. And so one of the great things that we look to do here on a Sunday morning is just simplify it down for people. And so, team, action, patience, consistent and persistent effort. It's all much of a muchness, right? It's like just take simple steps each and every day.
Tony Gallagher, good to have you on. Mick says, design your life around happiness helps create a framework for persistency, tenacity, etc., in my opinion. So good words from Mick there. George says, great content. Thanks for sharing. So George is liking what we're saying at the moment.
Fantastic.
So
Thank you, George.
Skills versus knowledge. What skills are essential, Tony, as a second point in regards to 2020 and beyond? We are going through COVID. Things are changing dramatically. Well, at least for the short term. We'll see what happens and what kind of changes happen in the long term. But what kind of skills do we need moving forward?
I think the first one, Luke, the most important is self-awareness. If you've got any chance of changing yourself, you need to have a line in the sand. That is, where am I today? What am I good at? What am I not good at, right? And now when I have self-awareness, I give myself at least half a chance of improving, because I'm aware of where I'm at. We talk here so regularly about people not even taking the time to understand where they're at. If you don't understand where you're at, how can you possibly know the areas that you want to improve in? So self-awareness for me is a really big skill, not a difficult skill to do. It's just, again, it's an application piece. And when I say it's not difficult, we talk about it. Those 2 questions, those 2 magical questions each and every day, ask them, what did I do well today? What could I do differently? You can ask questions such as, where am I strong? Where am I deficient? You can have similar, versions of those, but effectively self-awareness is saying, what is it that I like doing? What am I good at? Hey, what are the things that I struggle with? And then start to move in those directions. But self-awareness for me is a big one.
So what I did well and what do I need to improve on?
Correct. They're the 2 questions, right?
A day.
Two questions a day. The other skill that I think is incredibly important is this type of skill: communicating, listening, asking great questions, putting yourself out there, networking. The value that sits in people's networks. There's a saying which is your net worth is the equivalent of your network, right? And so if you are not someone who networks, then you need to really consider it. And I get that it's not for everybody. I get that there's introverts out there who go, oh my gosh, I can't possibly go and network, but you don't have to go and do it in forums of 100 or 200 people. Network, reach out to people like Luke or myself. You start to expand your thinking, start to get around like-minded people, but you have to put yourself out there to challenge yourself to grow. So networking is such a critical tool, in 2020.
Really interesting. A couple of things. I want to talk about emotional intelligence in a moment, but Tony Gallagher says, good morning, guys. Greg has said, hey, Luke, didn't you reverse it to PAT, Patience Action Team? I actually did on one of my videos. So good to see people bringing that up and
great.
knowing
Good
and
pickup,
remembering
Greg.
the acronym. right? The slight swap in that, change that. And it was kind of like pat yourself on the back, but do it in the reverse order. So have the end goal in mind, Tony, like
I
what you
love it.
talk
I
about.
love it. I love it.
So I switched it up, and look at the switch up. People go,
Fantastic.
oh, no, Luke, you're getting it wrong. You're changing things up. Well,
Good
it's
on
good
you.
to change things up, get it a little bit fresh. Mick says, find out what works for you. Absolutely. And he also says self-awareness. If you think you are a toothbrush, then you are a chisel, but then you are a chisel. It is going to hurt. Who are you? I don't know where he's going with that one, but
I'm just taking your word for it on reading, but he's so right. It's about understanding who you are, and it's about getting very clear on, again, what we all have, strengths and weaknesses, and let's not try and kid ourselves that we don't, right? And so it's about going, well, I've got areas here that I'm strong at. I've got areas here that either A, I want to get better at, or B, I want to outsource it. There's so many things that I do in my business that I actually choose not to do. You know, I talk quite often with my clients, and I say, you know, my area of expertise is about that wide, right? But I know that that area is, and I also choose that these areas out here, I don't want to do them. And so I'll pay someone to do those for me. And it helps me then with my business focus heavily on the things that I know, A, are important, B, I love doing, and C, will deliver the biggest return on my time. So look, but that's self-awareness for me. But for all of us, it's about start by asking those questions. Just make some time. Right? We have 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. And what we don't want to do is a lot of us don't want to sit and actually think about what we're good at and what we're not good at. We'd much rather, avoid that and scroll through the phone or watch TV or whatever it might be. This is about sit down by yourself, some silence, get inside your own head for a couple of minutes a day. That's it. That's it. I get that people are uncomfortable with it, but my advice to you is just to start with that.
And that's exactly my conversation with Patrick yesterday. He actually uses a business coach, but it's really interesting because I've had this experience before myself where I did have a business. I was going in towards using a coach for business. Then I worked out for myself, which you probably experienced with some of your clients, Tony, is that I flipped that around because I had so much of these emotions and I guess a lack of self-awareness and all these things coming up for me that I needed to work on myself personally first before I even tackle anything in the business. So I did a 6-month training in the life coaching side of things for me. And then worked out that, okay, once I got over some of those hurdles, then I can tackle the whole business idea. And very similar to, what I spoke about Patrick yesterday, he's an architect. He meets with a business coach on a regular basis and they do quarterly reviews. And, his business is going well. And the business coach said to him, it goes, everything's going well here. What is lacking? And his thing was, I want to pay my mortgage down. So then they worked out some strategy around that. And then they worked out some of the other areas that he wanted to move in and sell his place and buy in another area and have a bigger house for his family as well. So that was something that was really predominant for him. So think about those things. You think you need like a coach within business, but you actually need to work out some of the internal stuff that's going on with you personally before you maybe tackle some of those business ideas. So David says, good morning.
Can I just dive in there, mate? Given so I'm just going to plug myself here. I don't normally do it. I haven't for a while. But I have a saying. So I have two sayings for so I'm a business coach, for those who aren't aware of that. Two sayings that I have. One is sales cures all. So that is focus on sales in the front door and it will start to take care of the rest. But the second one, which is alluding to what you were talking about, is in order to build a better business, you need to build a better you. And so that's that's my my two key mantras. And so the second one there about building a better you. And I spend a lot of time with my clients on getting them to build a better you. And let me give you a real life example. I could spend until the cows come home talking about sales strategy and sales techniques and all these wonderful things, and we could do some strategic planning. But if someone doesn't have the courage to take that first step, if someone doesn't have the courage to go and knock on that door, do that Facebook Live, call someone up, etc., if they don't do that, it doesn't matter what strategy I talk about, right? Because it's never, ever, ever going to get action. So that's one of the things with me is I spend a lot of time on that building a better you bit. Sorry, mate, I just wanted to dive in there.
That's good. So sales fixes everything. Is that what you said?
Sales cures all, 3 words. So sales cures all. And where I got that from is I got that from, so first of all, my background is in sales, but secondly, I remember listening to Tony Nash, who's the founder of Booktopia, the Australian version of a bookstore, used to, or still competes with Amazon, although Amazon's now a big behemoth. He talked about when he was starting early, he was struggling because he was looking back within his business. He was managing cash flow and having conversations with creditors and all types of conversations. He said the moment that he flipped his thinking around, instead of looking inward, he looked outward. And that is, how do I generate more sales? When I generate more sales, providing they're profitable sales, I generate more sales. It'll take care of all this stuff back in my business. It'll take care of my creditors. It'll take care of, all paying my wages and staff and all these types of things. I've got to sell more. And so it really, to me, I know there's so much involved in it, but that's the focus. It's sales cures all. And then in order to build a better business, you've got to build a better you.
Okay. So you need those two factors, and that's
Yes, absolutely
important. And that was a big focus for Patrick and what he was doing. So he had the sales,
perfect.
he just didn't have the better you. So
Fantastic.
It's really good to reflect on that as a real case, life case situation.
Example.
So
yeah.
Tony, back to skills versus knowledge. What sets apart the good from the great? And we've used a couple of examples already.
Yeah, we have.
I guess, having as an initial thought, having the skills and the talent, but then getting that level of mindset that's, putting on your cape, having the team action patience, those sort of things come up. What would you like to add?
Courage to start, first and foremost. The courage to start. So many people are experts, in their own time, but don't have the courage to get out there and actually start. And that's one of the things. And so let's talk about property, for example. So many people will sit there and they'll tell you, I've watched this YouTube clip on that. I've been to that course. I've read that book. I've done all these things. And it's like, cool. But you have to take the first step in property ownership in order to truly refine and develop that skill. And that's the key thing here. You've got to have the courage to start. That's a mindset thing, because so many people that I know, and I've been there as well, when you're hovering over a contract and your hand's shaking and you is this the right thing to do and all those types of things. I get it, right? I get it. You've been there, mate. I've been there. But you've got to start. You've got to push through that, right? So it's about the courage to start, and then it's about the ability to turn up each and every day. And I can't recall who said it, but they said 80% of success is just showing up. I think it might have been Woody Allen or so, anyway, someone like that. But it's like, but 80% of success is just showing up, is just getting on the field. Again, I know I've had a lot of sporting analogies today, but so many people, sit up in the bleachers and provide commentary and expert advice and all this sort of, stuff. And it's like, really, it's like when you get on the field, that's when you truly, truly, truly get to experience whatever it is. So when you start a business, then you have the ability to provide people business advice. Or when you buy a property, then you have the opportunity and the right of entry to provide people, business advice. And it's like, listening to, 20-year-old life coaches. It's like, come on, really? I mean, yes, I'm sure you've had some experience. It's wonderful. But the reality is that just through sheer age and time on this earth and experience, you can't put a price on that, right? So 20-year-old life coach, you're reading out of a textbook versus someone who's, in their 40s, been around the bush a bit, and has gone through the ups and downs, the sideways, the good times, the bad times.
Yeah, absolutely. Good thoughts. Mick says the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and handle interpersonal relationships judicially and empathetically. He's got some big words coming through. So, I that probably goes on with that whole thought about emotional intelligence, which I brought up earlier. We didn't explore that too much.
Yeah, please.
It has come up about, having one of those. It's almost like a skill, Tony, I believe, because I actually think it's innate within us. It's something that is within our DNAs. People ask me all the time, how can you actually take lifeline calls? I just feel like it's more of a born thing within me, like a talent, rather than something that I've grown into. So that's something, becomes a skill. Maybe as a life coach, are you seeing that level of skill, But again, we still need that mindset to keep working at it, to be able to deal with these difficult situations, to push through and deal with those struggles and create some success out of that, for me as a volunteer or you as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like people who, there's people out there who want to be tradespeople. They love working with their hands. They're very good at that, mate. These are not trades hands, I can assure you, right? These are office-based hands, right? And so it's about, firstly and foremost, you talk about it's innate within you. Well, the first thing is that you have skills around wanting to help other people. You're more of an intellectual assistance as opposed to people who are doing trades. And again, I'm just trying to come up with simplistic ideas where they just love making stuff and creating stuff and building stuff or digging, whatever it might be. Whereas for you and I, that's not us. Right. And so that's the beautiful thing about being humans, is that we've all got different things that we like and whatnot. It's about tapping into what is that thing. Then from you, yes, the emotional intelligence is there, but you can also refine that skill. So your conversations, the way in which you conduct yourself during your lifeline calls today would be very different to when you first started, right? And so there'll be things, and again, because you've gone through, you would have had some tough conversations, some really challenging, stretching conversations, you would have learnt a lot through that. That's refining of a skill, but then it's the ability to keep coming back week after week after week after week after week. That's the mindset stuff. It's like, just keep going, want to get better, want to provide greater service, etc. Again, no different to an art. You talked before about your guy who was an architect, or someone who's a drawer or painter that's constantly refining and wanting to be better. Michael Jordan wanting to be better. There's a real that inner drive and determination to whatever skill we have, but want to refine it, want to challenge yourself to be better today than we were yesterday, and better tomorrow than we are today. And that's a real mindset thing.
Yeah, the strive to always wanting to be better. I like that.
Yeah.
Mike, David, and Ray, good to have you on. We're talking about skills versus mindset, and that those different things about self-awareness and emotional skills, which we touched on as well. What sets apart the good from the great. Let's talk a little bit more about that. What sets them really apart? What are they doing each and every day that
Yep.
sets them apart?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big ones for me, Luke, is that they leverage their time. That's simple. They have the same amount of time as you and I, same amount of time as our listeners, but they leverage that, right? And so they're very, very good at saying no. Like, how many people do you know that constantly struggle with saying no? They can't do it. They're worried about upsetting that other person. They're worried about, whatever it might be. Or I don't really want to, but it's like, the great people, they say no. They recognize that the one thing that they're not making any more of is time, right? You lose your money, you can make more money, right? But they're not making any more time. And so I would argue that is got to be right up there. They know how to milk every last little drop out of that time. And it's not about less sleep. Like, I know that people automatically default to, oh, well, I'll sleep 5 hours a day. No, it's not about that. It's about awake time, right? Sleep 8 hours a day. Look, sleep is important. Don't sit here and kid yourself. And I could show you an enormous number of studies that say poor sleep leads to cardiovascular problems, and there's actually an epidemic that's sweeping through. It's not about less sleep. It's about your awake time. So if you sleep for 8 hours a day, that means that you're awake for 16. So how are you spending that 16? If you have to do a job, which a lot of us do, then you're working for 8 or 9 hours. Okay. So there's some things that you can't change, but it's the time that you've got left. And I did a pie chart to say that, if you work for, let's say, 168 hours, I'm just trying to think of the numbers, 40 hours of work a week. Then there's 56 hours of sleep. That's 7 times 8. And then there was 42 hours of miscellaneous stuff. That's 6 hours a day times 7 of stuff, driving, getting ready for work or downtime, whatever. That leaves you 30 hours in a week, right? And so for me, the great people leverage their time. Now, you mightn't find 30. You might go, oh, Tony, that's a whole lot of crap. Okay, but challenge yourself. I get my clients to do a time audit. Whenever they start to talk about no time, easy. Do this time audit, and it breaks up their day into 15-minute increments. And they just, at the highest level, put in what they did. I did some social media, I did some phone calls, I did some strategy, whatever it might be. And you look back after a week and go, oh my gosh, I found all this time. And so now that and with time, I call that quantity time. So that is, I've found more time. The next element then is quality time. That is, now that I've found the time, how am I going to spend that time?
Mm. Yeah, use the time wisely, and it's the number one, I guess, in my acronym, team action patience. It's
Mm,
to start off right. Use the team. So the team might be a cleaner at home. It might be
exactly.
someone to massage you and get you in peak condition as a sports athlete.
Correct.
It might be some of those other preventative, or we might be managing other things that are going on in your life as well. So think about those ways, and maybe initially, as we're building up on these, like startup businesses and things like
Mm,
that,
mm,
is yeah, our time is fleeted to different areas because we're thinking
mhm,
about costs initially. But
mm,
once we get up and build up that, and we're reinvesting money back into the company, well, then we
mm,
can leverage out to use that investment money to create people to do things for us, so that we can build it up even more. Ability then to grow because of the connections and because of the other attributes of more sales that we're going to create, because we're doing things at a higher level.
absolutely. A great question to ask yourself, right? I know, for example, a great friend of mine, she's got an outsourced business, and I know that they charge $15 an hour, right? So you have to ask yourself, is your time worth more than $15 an hour? And if it's worth more than $15 an hour, then get rid of that task. That's the first thing. The second thing you want to ask yourself is this a repeatable process? So I ask this with my business clients all the time. Is this thing that you're doing a repeatable thing? Are you doing this over and over and over and over again? If you're doing that, get rid of that as well. Because now that you've got rid of this repeatable task and you're paying $15 an hour to someone else, now it's a case of, well, now that you've got that hour back, let's just talk about 1 hour. That's not about go down to the pub and waste it. That's about well, how can I now reinvest that hour to drive my business forward? And go back to my comment about 20 minutes ago around sales cures all. How can I get more sales? And it mightn't be directly to sell today, but it might be I'm going to go and have another potential client meeting. I'm going to go to a network meeting. I'm going to go and set up my Facebook straight, whatever it might be. But I'm now going to spend that hour on income generating, sales generating initiatives, because my time is worth more than $15 an hour. And it's about it. You said it before. People look at these things as a cost, and I'm saying look at it as an investment. And the same with the coach. Look at a coach as an investment, right? Not a cost. People tend to. I used to position myself in life coaching. I now position myself in business coaching, and it was interesting when I flipped from life coaching to business coaching. No, I didn't change. I was the same person, but simply my outward branding changed. Now people saw me as an investment as opposed to a cost. Life coaching, it's a cost because I'm not really seeing the return on the investment, even though it's saying I'm going to improve your life. A lot of people couldn't see that. But when I say, hey, business coaching, I'm going to help you grow more sales, we're going to help you get more things in the front door. Now it's like, okay, well, I go and get $5,000 more in and you're going to cost me two. Yeah, okay, great. Now you're an investment. So it's just interesting how the psyche works.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know we were going to go so sales focused today, but whatever tangent that we go on, and that's the way we roll on this Sunday mindset session. And we've got to think about the front end and the back end of what we do as well all the time. So it's prudent for us to talk about all different things. Skills versus a mindset is the topic of today, and we went through some ideas about what's more important. We also spoke about the skills that are essential in 2020 and beyond, and what sets the good apart from the great, or the great apart from the good. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
important. Any final words, Tony, that you would like to talk to the audience about today?
Take the courage to start. Just start. We say it all the time. Just start. That's how you build the muscle. It's about having the courage to take that first step. And let's use the example of the 66 day sit up challenge. It's about starting with 1 day. It's recognizing that when I do 1 day and I string a second day and a third day and a fourth day together, when I string 66 together, now it becomes this automated habit, and I'm off and racing. So
It's really,
just start. Yes,
yeah.
sorry, go, mate. Yep. Go.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that challenge, and people are like, well, what are you going to get out of that challenge? And people don't realize that the reason it's a couple of different things. It's
Mhm,
connection,
mhm,
collaborating with other people and
mhm,
getting that community happening. And then it's also working on the mindset more than
mhm.
the 66 sit-ups. It's not going to you know, it's probably going to create some physical attributes for yourself and help you physically, but it's really about that mindset side of things, doing something. There is a reason why we picked the 66 days on the back of what you talk about, and
Yes,
Greg and
yes.
I wrote on about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me again talk about, way back when for me, how did I start all this back in 2015? Well, I did a 12-week challenge. I did a 12-week challenge and lost a heap of weight in 12 weeks. And then from there, got into property development. Now, losing weight and property development have zero in common. You could not find two things more further apart. But it's about that, like you said, it's about, well, I went and lost weight. And because I lost the weight and I had this belief, and it's like, if I can go and do that thing over there, lose that weight, now I can turn my attention and have the belief that I can achieve this over here. So you're right. It's not about the sit-ups. Like, yeah, okay, the sit-ups will give you, good core and all that. And they're important. I'm not downplaying that. But it's so much more than the sit-ups. Right, it's so much more than that. And that's why people do university. University isn't, I believe, it's not about the degree that you finish with, because my degree, although I am using a bit of it now, I did a Bachelor of Commerce, but a lot of people do a degree and don't use it. But it's about the demonstration of the ability to complete something, about to critically analyze things, about research, a whole range of skills that aren't necessarily specific to that degree, but yet you use it for the rest of your life. And so this is no different. Get out there, do something for 66 days, do sit-ups with Luke and Greg, or do something else, whatever it is. But in 66 days, the studies say, science says that you form a habit. And then from that, you can apply that to something else. You may choose to do running 7 kilometers a day. You may choose to start a business or whatever it is, right? But it's about demonstrating to yourself that you can do it. So I would encourage everybody to get out there and get involved with this. It's a bit of fun, and good on you guys for initiating it.
Yeah, Amal's come on a little bit late, and hopefully you're hearing a little bit of this, but you can obviously watch the replay. Gail's also just joined us. Peter says, I'm on intermittent fasting, eating only twice a day.
Great.
So, that's different things. Challenge yourself in different ways. And this is what it's all about. Like we say, there's a reason why we do this. And it's normally because of our mindset, working on our mindset. And I think it is a thing that we should be working on each and every day. Right now, we're doing the 66-day challenge. You might be doing something different in your life. And that's the message we're getting out to everyone through this particular video at 8 a.m. every Sunday morning. Tony and I come on. Tony, have a great Sunday. Everyone, have a great Sunday. It's been a great one today to talk about skills versus mindset. And let's keep the momentum going, Tony.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week. See you next week.
All right. See ya.
Bye.